Here, our idea is to try to mature more, be perfected more in our spirituality. So spiritual maturity is our theme for 2010. This series deals with spiritual transformation and how that comes about through three areas in our spiritual life: our justification, our sanctification, and our glorification. In Romans 1 and verse number 17, the question, as we look at the second part of justification, is given to us. Paul writes to the church in Rome and lets us know that in the gospel, a righteousness from God is revealed. So if we're looking for righteousness, we know where to find it. It's in the gospel. It is revealed from the gospel, and it comes from God. He goes on to say that this righteousness is a righteousness that is by faith from first to last. Just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. Last week we asked the question, are you justified? When we started with part 1 of this 6-sermon series. And today we're going to deal with how the justified live. First we asked the question, are you justified? And perhaps many of you said and should have said, yes I am. Now we're going to deal with how the justified live. In Ephesians chapter 4 and verse number 13, the Bible tells us, gives us our series text. It says, until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. This is the process that we're involved with. This is the process we should be intimate with. And we are first justified in that process in attaining the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Every day God is aiming to make us more into the image of His dear Son. That we will be more and more like Jesus every day. This process is a transformation that happens daily. It shouldn't just be happening on Sunday mornings and for you really good saints, Wednesday afternoons. But it should be happening every day of your life. You should be spiritually transformed. And some of us are not caught up in this transformation. We're being transformed, but into something totally different. Something that looks more like the world and less like Christ. So we have to understand there's a way that we are called to live in this world. A way that helps this spiritual transformation as we are being justified in front of our God. This morning we're going to see that those who are justified by God live in a manner that God has called us to live. This manner is different than how we see people living in the world. Therefore, we must allow God to transform us. Because without God's transformation, we would look just like everybody else in the world. We would do just like everybody else in the world. We would hate just like everybody else in the world. Our goals, our ambitions would be just like everybody else's in the world. And ultimately, our destinies would be the same as everybody else in the world. So we're going to look at how the justified live in 3 areas. There are more areas that we could look at. But what I want to talk about is the area in which the world plays a role in our transformation, or the lack of the world playing a role in our transformation. I also want to look at sight. I want to look at our sight and what role does sight play in our spiritual transformation and how the justified are called to live. The world and sight play a role in your justification and mine. And then lastly, I'm going to look at God's promises. And why are God's promises so important where spiritual transformation is concerned? And why are promises so important where our justification is concerned and how we should live our lives every day? So if we listen to this sermon, we'll come to understand how those who are justified are called to live. Let me go back just for definition's sake, to go back to justification. so that you understand this word, because we're not going to deal with it anymore. For the next 2 Sundays after this, Tony is going to come and speak to us in our spiritual transformation where our sanctification is concerned. We'll move from our justification to our sanctification. And then when he's done with his 2 lessons, I'm going to come back to you again with 2 more on our glorification. I want you to know I like talking about our glorification. I like living in this world, and I even like some of you. But I really look forward to the day when I am glorified. I really look forward to the day when heaven will be my home. And I'm really not going to miss much of this world. I told my child the other day, I told Barry Jr., I don't know if I shocked him or not, but I told him I look forward to dying. I'm not saying I want it to happen right now or in the next 24 hours. But death, it has a mystery component for me, but it has a joy in it for me as well. Amen. You know, in this world, I didn't come out quite as tall as I wanted to be, Brother Amen. I'm not quite as rich as I want to be. I'm probably too handsome. I was telling Sam the other day in school, I said, you got to watch your power. You're a Johnson, and it has a certain effect over the women. And you got to watch that power. I told him it only lasts about 23 years, but you got to watch that power. Just watch that power. But in this world, I'm looking for what is coming yet for us. And this is all part of our spiritual transformation. But let's look at this justification. It's a forensic term. Remember I talked about CSI the other day? And you're looking at the different pieces of hair and a fingernail. They can tell so much different stuff. Justification is a forensic term. It's a term opposed to condemnation. So those who are justified have some forensic evidence that should be available to see, not with the naked eye, but with the spiritual eye, or more importantly, by God. There's some evidence spiritually in you that speaks to you as the justified of God. I talked about the idea that the law, as God is concerned, is seen, or he deems it fulfilled. Not because you have a justification of your own, but because you have a righteousness that is not of your own, that's a part of the evidence of your life. Amen. And we know where that righteousness comes from. It comes from Jesus. Yes. A righteousness of our own that we have claimed by obeying his gospel. For those who obey that gospel, for those who believe that gospel, for those who walk in that gospel are justified. And they fulfill, God deems them worthy of all the promises that are availed to the righteous, to the justified. But we're not going to get there by living as the world lives. Amen. The justified live outside the world, even though we're in the world. Being in the world is a matter of position. And it's also a matter of disobedience for the children of God. To a very high level even, we are called to be disobedient to the world. And we're called in a position that finds us in the world. When God calls us and when we come to God, he finds us in the world. That's the position we're in. God calls us out of that position into the obedience of his gospel and disobedience to the world. Listen to how Ephesians 2, verses 1 through 3, place this very idea. Paul writes, as for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins in which you used to live. Remember, we're talking about how the justified live now. When you followed the ways of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. So those who are in the world are disobedient to God. But those who are in God should be disobedient to the world. Verse 3 says, all of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our sinful nature and following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were objects by nature of wrath. That's right. So here we see that the world is a position we're called in, and a disobedience we're called to. We're not called to live like everybody.